Hi, everyone. I'm immigration lawyer John Khosravi. Thank you for joining us on the live version of the show, and thank you for those watching later on in the video portion. It's June 2nd, Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, and we do every week for almost a year and a half now. We're doing a live video Q&A where you call in to ask general educational questions, not case-specific stuff, about your U.S. immigration case. So we're going to get into all that as your questions come. My assistant will post them, and we'll get to that. But before getting into it, I want to remind you that we do have free raffles for free 15-minute video consultations for you at no charge. All you need to do is like, subscribe, and just post, consultation or something wherever you're watching. And my associate, every 10 minutes or so, will pick somebody to get the free raffle. So it's been really helpful. I've met a lot of you, a lot of listeners. It's been a pleasure. Thank you so much for joining us. Other than that, if you're interested in looking into a marriage green card case, you're going to get married, you have a fiance, and you're trying to understand the process, just go to this website and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. It's the best green card guide out there for marriage cases, fiance cases, and it's free. Just go to marriageimmigrationlaw.com. Again, that's marriageimmigrationlaw.com and download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. With that, let's get it started. All right, so as people are joining in all over the place from TikTok, Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, we're going to be taking your questions. But what's going on with U.S. immigration? What are the updates? Well, there's these big cases that are happening here and there about what's going to happen with asylum law and all this kind of stuff. But for the stuff that usually my listeners, most of the people are watching, there hasn't been that much news except for just massive delays are continuing. And I'm daily getting calls and consultations and seeing in my own cases that people's cases are taking forever. And it's just not moving forward. Case in India are moving forward, and Pakistan are moving forward. They're somewhat opening up the embassies, but not really. In the U.S., it's going okay, but there's still delays, for example, for getting work permits. And we've been pushing it and making requests for expedites. People need the work permit for various reasons, that they've become really, really harsh and difficult in being able to expedite. And recently, all my expedite requests are being denied. Nothing is popping up that's approved. So that's a big problem when they're denying expedites, even when they're really valid. And I had some cases where I was sure, I'm like, for sure, this is going to get approved because these people have medical conditions and working for important government agencies that need to have the work permit. But USCI has disregarded that and just kept things going. So that was a major issue that we're dealing with when it comes to immigration is the fact that they're not helping us out on this and this kind of stuff. So let me take a question right now we got from TikTok. We have a listener, conservative immigrant, says, can we vote locally or not if you have a green card? Generally, you always go by the rule of do not vote in any way possible if you're a green card holder. You have to be a U.S. citizen to be able to vote. So unless you're a U.S. citizen, don't vote. There's some nuanced stuff where if you vote in a local election that's like this or like that, maybe you can get away with it. Very rare cases. I'll need to study on the jurisdiction you're in and what kind of vote it is. But why bother? Just don't touch it. Wait to get the citizenship. File for that as soon as possible. But don't vote, don't vote, don't vote. Don't register to vote. Don't do jury duty. Don't claim to be a U.S. citizen when you're applying for a job. In no way possible should you ever claim to be a U.S. citizen unless you are a U.S. citizen, because it could quickly lead to you to be deported with no defenses. So be very careful on things like that. The situation could be terrible for you. I have another question from Oluwar. Tell me, can my mother file for my sisters in Nigeria? She is a U.S. citizen. Definitely. When you're a U.S. citizen, you can file for your children, even if the children are single or married. So either way is possible. If they're single, it's a little faster than if they're married. It's a lot faster because when they're married, they can bring the spouse and children. And because there's more people part of that file, there's a longer line for that. But a U.S. citizen can file for those children. The key is that you have a birth certificate showing who the mother is so that they could connect them. And there's a lot more involved. We need to know the background of your sisters, how things are working there, all this kind of stuff. But generally speaking, to start the process, a petition for alien relative form I-131 is possible from a U.S. citizen to their child. And then once we get to that, there's a lot more details we need to know, whether it's going to be able to finish it. For example, if there's prison history, arrest history, criminal history, all this kind of stuff could be problematic. Eventually down the line, there's a sponsorship requirement. It depends on where your mother lives. If she's in the United States, domicile or not. It gets really complicated after that. But if you're interested in doing it, you should definitely do it because there's the long delays, years and years of wait. So you want to get started sooner before, so it gets done sooner. Now, one mistake people make is when they have a green card holder can file for their adult child who's single, not married, but single. But some people wait to become citizens before they file for their adult child. And the bad thing about that is, first of all, they're waiting 5, 6, 7+ years to become citizens. So there's a baked-in delay you've added there. But then these people make the mistake of filing as citizens because there's a longer line for adult single children of U.S. citizens than there is for adult single children of green card holders. So definitely, if you have a green card and your child is single or 21, you want to file for them then and not wait to get U.S. citizenship. But thank you for the question, Aluar Timi. Shariah asks Robbie, yes, can we take a student loan? So this is with an immigrant can take a student loan. Well, you can take a private loan for sure. I'm not a financial person. I don't know the details of how a loan is. Talk with your school and the loan agency about it. But you can get a private loan. Whether you get a public loan or not, you probably have to be a green card holder or a citizen. There is a question when you take NAFTA loans if you're a U.S. citizen or not. You want to make sure you don't state that you're a U.S. citizen there, kind of going back to what we talked about a little earlier in the program. But, you know, I'm not in charge of student loans, and I'll help process those. So I'm going to leave any guidance to give at that level. So our next question is Elaine Beeson says, good evening. Thanks for the information. You're welcome, Elaine. Thank you so much. And, you know, for those popping in, we do a free consultation raffle, 3 of them every 10 minutes. My associate is going to pick someone who likes, subscribes, and write like consultation, free consultation. We'll pick one. We'll have you do a free 50-minute video private consultation with me. So just be aware of that. And also, you can download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide by going to www.marriageimmigrationlaw.com and get the whole idea and rules and process for a marriage green card case. So a question we have, Jake Calib asks, I-140 is already approved. This is a green card based on work, and combo card was issued. That means you file for adjustment of status as well. Can an interview be waived for employment based I-485? Definitely. Most of the time, Trump kind of messed things up, but it looks like it's going back to most of these cases having the interview waived, unless there's a particular issue with your case that requires an interview. But there's a good chance your interview would be waived. Hopefully you submitted the medical as well, and they have that. If not, they'll send a request for evidence, an RFE, asking for you to either mail the medical checkup, or you might have to bring it into an in-person interview. Both those are possible. Rahul Rajesh asks, I've taken voluntary departure VD, but haven't left. Can you help out with the new law? Please let me know. Thanks. Rajesh, there's no new laws. I'm not sure what you're talking about, but definitely consult with an attorney. I don't handle cases where there's voluntary departure. It's when a person had to go to immigration court for deportation removal, but they signed an agreement saying, I'm just going to leave the U.S. and not go through the court case. I don't handle those kind of cases, so I suggest you consult with another attorney that does. Marlon, a regular, asks, is it a problem if I enroll in college? It's a nonprofit organization called Penn Foster. Marlon, we have talked about this before. I don't remember your background to be able to tell you that, and it's too case specific, so I wouldn't be able to answer your question. 007 Chef asks, take a second to say thank you. We got her green card. Great advice. Could not have done it without you. Wow, that's wonderful. We have a winner right here. We got a green card winner. Congratulations on getting it, and I'm so glad the show is able to help. It seems like hundreds, if not thousands of people have taken advantage of it, and I really appreciate 007 Chef. Thank you so much. I'm so glad to hear the good news. If you had the chance, please leave a review. Type in JQK Law on Google, and my Google reviews will pop up on the right. Just leave a 5-star. If you want to write something. But I really appreciate it. It helps support the office. But thank you so much. Congratulations on getting the green card. That's great news. Thank you. Ambrose asks, good afternoon, John. Does my U.S. citizen petitioner sister need her marriage certificate besides her birth certificate, U.S. naturalization certificate, and the affidavit of support? Since she's married, does she need to include her husband's tax information too in complete affidavit? So, Ambrose, this is really case specific. I would need to know with regards to the tax stuff if she's just doing the I-864 based on her income or including the spouse's income. That depends on your family size as a foreign person. So I can't get into that. It may or may not be needed that her spouse needs to do it. With regards to showing what you needed for the documents, we need to prove she's a U.S. citizen. You need to prove that your siblings. So having both your birth certificate showing the same parents is good. Whether she needs her marriage certificate or not, that depends on if she needs a spouse for the affidavit of support. For the basic case, I don't think you need for the I-130 or justice has a petitioner's marriage certificate, only affidavit of support. I'd have to see the details of your case to see if there's some sort of exception, but most likely it's not needed unless the spouse is going to be also part of the affidavit of support. So we'd have to see what's going on there. Please set up a private consultation. We discuss it. Sarah asks, I recently submitted an I-129F, that's a fiance visa request. Will I get a notice indicating when and where to file the I-134 affidavit support? Is this one fiance takes his interview? Does it need to be filed beforehand? No. So for a fiance visa case, you first file Form I-129F, and this is all in the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide. All the answers that your specific question you're asking is detailed in there. Check it out at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. But you need to file the I-129F to prove you're a real couple. And then an embassy portion starts, and that's when you submit Form I-134. It's a financial affidavit support that you submit for your fiance. Your fiance would take that with them to the interview along with the rest of their documents to get the K-1 visa. Once they get the K-1 visa, they come to the United States, apply for adjustment of status after you get married, if you get married with 90 days especially. And then what's important there is you have to submit another affidavit support, this time Form I-864. Not I-134, but hopefully it helps. Now we have a raffle winner. Our 15-minute free consultation goes to Jay Khalib Tech. We took a question at the beginning of the show. Jay Khalib, just email me at info@jqqlaw.com. My email is going to be in the bottom if you're watching on YouTube or Facebook or LinkedIn, but not on TikTok or from there. But what's important is you take a screenshot to show that the account you wrote, you like, subscribed, and commented on was yours. So I need to see it's really your account with on the screenshot. But Jay Khalib Tech, you are a winner. Please email me info@jqqlaw.com with that screenshot, and I'll send you a link to schedule a free 15-minute video consultation. Elaine Basin asks, if you're in the United States and you're filing in Jamaica, can you change your address to the United States? Well, Elaine, it depends on what you're doing exactly. So I need to see your case. What was your previous question? I can't remember. Let me look at my list right here. Good evening. Thanks. So Elaine, I need more information. I'm not exactly clear what you mean. If you're filing in Jamaica, what are you filing? So I need to know what kind of case it is. Please add more details to that one. All right, Sarah Schultz, thank you. You're welcome, Sarah. Thank you as well. Cream Pie asks, if I'm to ask serious question, do you subscribe to the idea that American justice system is plagued with systematic racism? Well, that's a loaded kind of thing. Yeah, of course, but every country is loaded with systematic racism. To be real, we have a lot of Afghan people here. My family's from Iran. I was born and raised here, but the justice system in Iran is hella against Afghani people. They're discriminated against. I have a client right now from China. She has a mixed child, and people treat her mixed child that's white and looks fully white with a lot of racism. In Russia, they do that. In Africa, they do that. That's everywhere. So this idea of systematic racism is systemic to humanity, not just America. And I've traveled around the world. I have clients around the world. I talk about this issue with them. Systematic racism is systematic to humanity. It's not racism. It's prejudice and the way we deal with each other. We look at each other as groups, and when you take away the individual humanity of someone, you just look at them as a group, this happens. And that's why a lot of these things we talk about nowadays is popular. Progressivism is constantly putting people in boxes and groups and forgetting their individualism. That's one of the reasons I love immigration law and practice the way I do is I always deal with individuals. So when someone comes to me, it's not they're an Iranian, they're Chinese, it's that it's Bob, I or Jamshid or Luke or something like that. It's always dealing with the person because that's what matters. We're individuals. And so we just got to deal with things in that way. But generally, is a justice system fully just? No, that's not. So that's just what it is. Sarah, thank you so much for your kind words again. We have a question for Fatima. Hello, I'm married to a U.S. citizen on a B2 visa and case is already filed. Would like to pursue higher education in the United States. Would affect the process, or should I wait for adjustment of status? So if you're married to a U.S. citizen, you're not really supposed to on a B2 or expired go to school. It is a violation, but these violations are forgiven when you're married to a U.S. citizen and applying for citizenship. So I wouldn't hold you back from going to school. The school might not understand it. Usually they will and just sign you up. But going to school, if you have a marriage case pending, it's not something I would prevent you from doing if you're married to a U.S. citizen. Which comes under one of these forgivenesses. So yeah, the student visa issue is a really important one. I'm getting a lot of questions right now. They're opening things up again and giving priority for student visa holders to come to the United States and not be subject to many of these bans for COVID-19, even if you're from one of the countries that has a COVID-19 ban. But be careful, there's a lot of issues. One is, every consular officer doesn't know what's going on. Every airline that's going to board you doesn't know what's going on. But one major issue I have with people filing for their own student visas or even tourist visas is when they fill out the form DS-160, this is the online application for any person coming on a non-immigrant visa. they don't fill it out with attention to detail, and they leave out stuff by accident. That might be honest accident, but it becomes very problematic later down the line. For example, I have several cases right now where I've consulted where people are coming from countries that have mandatory military conscription. This is when you have to join the military in your country for 2 years, and everyone has to do it. And then countries like, Taiwan, South Korea, Iran, all these kind of countries force it. But when you apply for your tourist visa, it asks, have you ever been a part of the military? Have you ever had any weapons training? You have to say yes to this. U.S. government wants to know. It doesn't mean they're going to deny the visa, but they just want to know. But what happens is people don't fill it out. They get the visa, come to the United States, marry a U.S. citizen, and they're like, oh, I won. I'm going to get a green card now. Well, you have a thing called fraud and misrepresentation potentially in your past because you weren't open and honest about saying something and admitting something that you were supposed to tell the consular officer. Now, do they always enforce it harshly and accuse you of fraud or misrepresentation? No, but it can happen. So make sure you read all the questions, fill it out thoroughly. And a lot of people, most people do not hire lawyers for the B2 application or student visa application. I understand why. It seems simple enough, and it is. But one small error can follow you the rest of your life. So be very careful when you're filling out these applications. It could be very problematic for you in the future if you don't completely fill out the application forms correctly. But that's the main thing I want to get. One important thing I wanted to mention because I see this issue happen so many times consistently, more and more nowadays. So be very watchful of it. All right, so we have a regular paranoid Android asks, when I call the USCIS customer service number, there's no way to reach a human. Any way to check the status of my re-entry permit application since I haven't received a G1145 notification? Well, if you haven't got the G1145 notification is when you submit with your application to USCIS a request that they text message or email you your case number. This gentleman, this person hasn't done it, but they haven't received that yet, and they're worried or thinking about it. They want to call USCIS, but probably if you call them, they won't be able to tell you anything either because they haven't begun processing it yet. So just be patient. How long ago did you file the case? Wait 1 or 2 months, and then see what happens. It's just re-entry permits are not a priority. I have a case right now. We filed last July for a re-entry permit from I-131, and we still have not received the biometrics appointment. That's how backed up things are. You filed 5 weeks ago. I say your follow-up. So wait another week or two, and check your credit card account or check your checkbook, however you wrote the payment. I'll give you indication that they have the case. But 5 weeks right now with the delays that are happening is not abnormal. I don't think calling them will make a difference. And if you didn't submit the application correctly, you're just going to get it back in the mail in a couple weeks. So they'll know that way. You're welcome, Paranoid Android. Thanks for always watching and your questions. I appreciate it. So, we talked about the re-entry permit. This is the education I want to give. People get confused on what these documents are. So the Form I-131 is an application you submit to USCIS for a travel document. But a travel document is a wide-ranging kind of thing. It could mean many different things. So a travel document could be your passport. It could be a re-entry permit. This is special permission for you to be outside the United States for an extended period of time. As a green card holder is supposed to continuously reside in the United States. So if they leave, it looks bad, but you're telling the government beforehand, I'm going to be absent, please forgive it. I-131 travel document could be advanced parole. This is permission to leave the United States and come back in when you're not allowed to usually leave. Or it could be even a refugee travel document. This is a document where people who are asylees or refugees in the United States who are not allowed to use the passport of the country they escaped from, they get that as an alternative to a passport. So I just want to give you some education on how these things work, but I think we got a question. Let's get to that. Anmol asks, I filed my I-130 for my wife in June 2019. I still haven't gotten approval. I'm a green card holder. So when you're a green card holder, what I've seen is most of the time there's long delays until they approve the case. Now I had a watcher of the Q&A program who's a green card holder get the case approved in 3 months, which is crazy. But usually it takes about 1.5 years for a spouse of a green card holder I-130 to be approved. You filed in June 2019. Right now it's June 2021, 2 years. That is longer than usual. Check the timelines for the service center that you're working with, and then reach out to USCIS to see what's going on. But with the delays, I mean, I would imagine your case is probably going to get approved soon. But one thing is, did you get an RFE that could have delayed stuff? And I need to review your case to see if there's something suspicious in there that caused the delays. Every once in a while, that'll happen based on what you sent them or your personal background. So I need to see that. But yeah, 2 years is pretty bad when it comes to the wait. So that's starting to get suspicious. All right, so before we go on, I really want to mention another raffle winner, Sarah Schultz. Thank you so much. I think you had a question coming up in a second too, but you are our free 15-minute consultation raffle winner. Please take a screenshot of the page where you commented and email that to info@jqqlaw.com so I can see that it's you, and I'll send you a link to schedule a free 15-minute consultation. But thank you so much. All right, so next question, Marlon follows up. You're right. I-5 since last September, no biometrics appointment yet, wearing a robot notice. So there's some things missing in your question, but yeah, there's these delays in these biometrics. Biometrics being the fingerprints and photo they take to do their security background checks. Those are hella delayed right now for most cases. Capital 80 asks, how long does it take to get a sibling here if you're a U.S. citizen? Well, you need to go to a chart called the Visa Bulletin Chart, part of the Department of State, and they have different timelines. And the sibling case timeline varies depending on what country your sibling was born in. Philippines, I think, is the worst. Mexico is really bad. But generally, you can expect 15 to 20-year wait from the time of filing for things to move forward for a sibling of a U.S. citizen case. Sarah follows up, how long after getting married, fiancé visa, could we expect it to take for the partner to get a work permit, provided we file I-765 as part of the adjustment package? Right now, I'm easily seeing the I-765 EAD, the work permit, taking 7 months from the time of filing, unfortunately. I was on a call with some lawyers, and they were giving estimates of 3 to 5 months, but realistically, I'm seeing 7 to 8 months. It's getting worse and worse to get the work permission and advanced parole. It's a nightmare, to put it lightly, and that's why I don't like doing fiancé visas. Only 1 out of 10 cases would I recommend a fiancé visa if they're not married, as opposed to marriage, because one of the big problems is the fiancé comes here, you get married, and it takes 2 or 3 months just to get married and file the case. Then you add 7 months for work permit. It's almost an entire year where the foreign spouse doesn't have a work permit and maybe does not have a social security number too. And that's very frustrating, especially if you're young and you're active and you want to work. You got to make money. There's financial needs and all this kind of stuff. That's why I try to avoid the fiancé visa unless the case really calls for it, the clients really want it. But thanks, Sarah. Marlon follows up. I filed from last September and still not received biometrics notice. Yeah, it's a disaster, so annoying because you want to get it out of the way, but there's super delays in the biometrics. Primrose asks, should I send my N400 while waiting for the I-751? So we get this question regularly. So I can't say what you should do. I can't say because I don't know the details of your case, whether it's appropriate. But I had a consultation with the gentleman today who I've been helping since they got married, and now I-751 is still pending. That's I-751 is if you got married, your marriage is new. They want you to resubmit some applications after 2 years to prove your relationship is real, but they're pending a long time. They're taking 1 to 2 years. And while it's pending, a time comes where a spouse of a U.S. citizen can file for citizenship. I generally recommend people do it unless there's some issues with their case. So that's why I can't tell you what you could do in your case. But you should look into filing for citizenship. Now, there's other videos I've seen online on YouTube from other lawyers saying it's not possible. That's incorrect. You can file for an N400 application naturalization if you pass the other requirements for citizenship, residency, clean background, all that other kind of stuff. I generally recommend people doing it to get the ball rolling. But again, I can't advise you individually without knowing the specifics of your case. Fatima follows up. So should I join as an international student? Can you please guide on a university admission process based on B2 visa? So I'm not an admissions officer. I can't guide you on how to join a university. As a B2, you're not allowed to go to university. B2 is not for education. You need a student visa. But if you're married and have a case pending, you just look at it as if someone's out of status here illegally and they're filing for going to school. International, you're not an international student. International student is someone with a valid F1 student visa, maybe a J or something like that, or an M. But you would just be going to the school as a person without proper status. And it depends on the school if they're accepting it in the state. In California, it's not an issue to do that. Some school people might not know what's going on, but I don't help people in the admission process, so I want to leave it at that. 29 Super C asks, good night, Terry Khosravi. Hope you're doing well, sir. Thank you, a regular. 29 Super C, thanks for joining us again. I appreciate the kind words. Mayank, another regular. Hello, sir. Mayank here. How are you doing? I'm doing good. Good to hear from you again. Thank you for helping immigrants in every manner. Your service is above par. Mayank, thank you so much. It was a pleasure talking with you as well. So God bless, and I appreciate you coming to the show. Hopefully some good news will be coming in your case. Hasina asks, is the biometrics waiver going to speed the processing time? I mean, not really. Hopefully, but we'll see. Ritu Patel asks, how long does it take to get citizenship exam after tests, after fingerprinting process? There is no timeline. The fingerprinting is unrelated to getting the actual test. It's possible you don't even do the fingerprints, you do the test. Your test gets pushed back but there is no time limit. So just a general reminder, I don't have questions, I don't have answers to most of your questions. They are about timelines of how long it takes to this. Each case is different, so I don't really want to get into that. But our next question from Vanessa, I have a question about the student visa. I have a cousin that the school canceled his papers in the school, and they gave him 60 days to find a new school. But in the message, they say his I-20 was terminated. So Vanessa, I heard, I had a consultation with somebody recently, told me there a lot of universities also canceling all their I-20s. That's a special paper for me to go to school as a student here. It's I'm not sure why that would happen. It's a nightmare. I don't know. I can't guide you. I have to see exactly what happened in your case, what the termination reason was, and take it from there. Maybe a thing called reinstatement you could do. Maybe contact a congressperson to help you, or contact ICE and USCIS to figure out what exactly happened here. But there's too much going on. I can't answer that here. Ronald asked, my wife is in the Philippines. The I-130 was approved at USCIS after a year, and now it's on its way to the National Visa Center. How long do you think it will take her to get her interview? And will the embassy send documents there? Well, you have to send the documents to the National Visa Center, and they send it to the embassy. But right now, the embassy in the Philippines is not really processing too much stuff, so I can't really tell you how long it's going to take. That's every day it changes. That question asking, when is COVID going to end? You know, I don't have an answer for that. Lance asks, is owing taxes a bar to be denied for citizenship? Yes, 100%. On the N-400 application for naturalization for U.S. citizenship, there's a question that asks, have you ever not filed U.S. taxes? Do you ever owe U.S. taxes, all this kind of stuff? And if you haven't filed or have not paid taxes, especially in the last 5 years, that's a moral character bar that could lead to a denial. If it's outside the 5 years, it may be okay. You should probably go back and file them anyways. Or if you have back taxes owed, you should have a payment plan with the IRS and bring that payment plan. But they'll be discretionary whether the officer approves or not if you haven't paid back taxes. If you have a plan, they may work with you and stuff. That's something you should definitely consult with an attorney private about to do it the cleanest way possible. Then Notorious23 asks, is a biometrics appointment a good sign? Like, does it mean they've already reviewed the case? Now they just need to see the record? No, the biometrics is a formulaic thing, just like when you're getting a receipt that you got to do. It doesn't mean anything where they are the underlying case. All right, Lance Morris says, if you owe taxes when you file for N-400 but pay it before the interview, you just got to keep records. So you have to have a payment plan or paid. So when you go to the interview, the officer knows what's going on. I have to see the whole situation, how bad it was, to be able to advise you and say how bad it is. But generally, if you pay it, it's probably good. But there's discretion here. Officers to say, oh, you're playing games or something. But I need to see the exact tax situation in your relationship with the IRS to be able to better guide you. Vanessa follows up, my cousin's I-20 was terminated but still valid. It's August. How can he know if it's not canceled? Well, your cousin, as an F1 student, has access to CVIS. So they have some sort of online record that F1 students can go into to update their address, update the information. He should be able to check the stuff there. So he probably did a orientation when he started where the school explained all this stuff. So he should know how to do this kind of stuff. So Vanessa, just let your cousin take care of his own stuff. He should be able to handle it. He's had orientations on this. Sidger asks, switching from consular processing to adjustment status if your case is ready for interview overseas consulate. So what is your question exactly, Sidger? Could you rephrase it into a question? You want to switch from consular processing adjustment status? Well, we got to know if you are able to adjust status. You have violations there that could prevent you. Secondly, if you do end up filing for adjustment of status, you need to notify the National Visa Center and the embassy or wherever the case is to send the file back, so they don't cancel your case for not moving it forward. So you got to be really careful. It is possible to do the switch. We do this kind of stuff, but there are things you got to be watchful for. So you should probably get an attorney to talk with about this individual case, talk about it in private. Primrose follows up, I have no issues with the application or my I-751. They haven't sent me a request for more information. Fingerprints are done. Should I send the N-400 now or wait for the answer for the I-751? Primrose, I can't take your word for that you have no issues. You're not a lawyer, you don't deal with this every day, no offense, but I'd have to, for me to be able to tell you what to do, I'd have to check for myself. I just can't base it on 2 lines I see on the internet, so it wouldn't be appropriate for me to give you that answer until I review the case for myself. Lance asks, is an interview guaranteed? I got my biometric waived, I'm just waiting for interview. For Lance, what kind of case do you have? It depends on the case, that's that. Daniel asks, is it true we U.S. citizens can now apply for immigration for siblings? U.S. citizens could always apply for siblings. That's been the rule for like 80 years. So that's that. Lance Moore, you are a winner for our last consultation, free consultation. So just take a screenshot and we'll talk about what you're asking at the 15-minute free video consultation. Just take a screenshot to let me know whichever social media account you're on is yours. Email it to me at info@jqqlaw.com, and we'll set up a time to get into it. We'll ask maybe 1 or 2 more questions, and we'll take it from there. Let's see. Fatima asks, sorry, I just want to make it clear. So Fatima, I forgot what the reference was into. Let's see. Thank you, sir. So yeah, sorry, I lost track, but thank you. Primrose, thank you as well for asking. Sorry, I couldn't be more specific. I just got to know more details about your case. I guess we'll leave it at there. So we'll be back again next Wednesday, 5 p.m. Pacific time, as always, to do a Q&A. Take your questions live here on YouTube, and you all might see the edited version of this later. Download the Ultimate Marriage Green Card Guide free at marriageimmigrationlaw.com. And that's it. Be here next week. We'll also do more free consultation raffles. Till then, bye-bye. Be safe. God bless.